is to repeal Obamacare and replace it with a plan that doesn't exist.
I'm trying to look at something else real quick. There's just so much shit.
Yeah, we can talk about the 2020 election and January 6th now too if you want.
No, because everyone loves to talk about that.
Yeah, because it's a valid point to make.
A valid point to make. So Trump's responsible for those people's decisions.
No, he's not responsible. He didn't directly incite violence, no. But
no, so people did that because they were upset because they felt like the election was rigged, which I do think it was.
Okay, why do you think it was rigged?
The fact that Biden got more votes than Trump. So Trump got 80 million votes. Biden got way more votes than Trump did. Biden also received millions of votes undernight and won in states that he was losing in. Okay, so he gets these millions of votes come out of nowhere. Votes were coming out of nowhere for Biden, and he won states that he wasn't leading in. Trump was leading in states and lost them because Biden pulled like millions of votes out of his ass overnight.
That's like saying I was ahead in this race before, and then by the end of the race, when we crossed the finish line, I won. I mean, that's
no. It's like saying how. Okay, right now there's 300 million people.
You realize that these election laws were in place months before the election. Months before the election.
Bro, I'm telling you something right now. Okay, I'm letting you know right now.
Trump literally said, "If I win, the election was fair. If I lose, it was rigged." The only variable for him to think it was rigged was the fact that he lost. His own campaign said.
No, he said it before the election even began. He said, "If I lose."
His own campaign said that
if he lost, look,
his own vice president.
Nobody expected Biden to win the damn presidency.
Everyone expected it. The polls
no, they didn't.
The betting markets expected it.
No, they didn't. Trump was leading in all of the polls, bro.
He was. Can you show me one reputable polling average in 2020 of any swing state, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, that had Trump leading? Real Clear Politics didn't, 538 didn't, The Hill didn't. I don't know what polling average you're looking at that had Trump leading in 2020. The polls were off by a lot, if that's what you want to say. They had Biden leading by a lot. Biden ended up winning by like less than a point over average. But like saying that the polls didn't have Biden leading is just not true. The betting markets had Biden leading. The polls had Biden leading. Everyone had Biden leading. But like, as far as like you saying that the election was rigged, like you do realize that Trump
was ahead by 60 points.
He was what? Trump was ahead by 60 points. What polling average had Trump ahead by 60 points?
Polls don't matter. People showing up at rallies is all the proof.
That's not.
I'm just reading comments.
Enthusiasm for one particular candidate is not indicative of the results of an election.
Bro, I don't know anybody. The only people I knew voting for Biden were believing all of his bullshit lies that he also didn't follow.
That's circumstantial evidence that he launched 60 court cases in swing states, and 38 of those judges that saw those cases were Republicans, and 10 of them were appointed.
That election was definitely stolen.
The election was definitely stolen, and the only one who thinks it was stolen was Donald Trump. His own lawyers even said it wasn't stolen.
No, you could say probably 50% of conservatives think it was stolen.
Okay, just because 50% of people think something doesn't mean it's true. They looked at it in court, and the evidence saw that it was not stolen.
Bro, they don't want him in office, bro. They don't want him in office, bro.
Oh, yeah, the 10 judges that he appointed didn't want him in office. The 38 other Republican judges that oversaw the court cases didn't want him in office.
Nah, bro. They don't want him in office. The government does not want him in office for one reason. He don't listen to what they have to say. Okay. He's a threat to rich people, bro.
Okay, he's a threat to rich people. You do realize that 40 out of 44 of his former cabinet members haven't endorsed him. Most of them just completely step away from him. His own vice president wants nothing to do with him now.
You said
And
what?
you're saying he had this promise to drain the swamp. So he had this promise to drain the swamp and fill the government out and fill the government with a bunch of non-corrupt people. So when he said he was going to do that, he filled the government with 40 swamp monsters and an extra swamp monster for vice president at that. And now you're giving him credit for calling those people swamp monsters after he chose them.
All I'm saying, bro, is they don't want him in office.
Yeah, his own former cabinet members don't want him in office.
Most of his own former cabinet members wrote up Project 2025.
It's odd that you admit that. Okay. Again, what makes you think the election was stolen? Because there was no evidence for it.
Like I said, so it took a week, first of all, to decide. It took a whole week. The amount of times that it was paused.
Which we knew before election night. Trump knew before election night. There were a lot more mail-in ballots. We all knew that.
Biden. Okay, this is the biggest one. Trump received 80 million votes. Okay, so Biden obviously received more than that, which means there was about 200 million people that probably voted, right? Okay.
Out of record turnout, that's not evidence of election fraud.
Okay, I'm gonna explain to why this is bogus. There's 333 million people in the United States right now as of today. So 4 years ago, it was probably under 300 million. Okay, listen, you have to take into account that many people voting it doesn't make sense. The amount of people that can't vote because they're felons or in prison, the amount of children, there's millions of children, people under the age of 18, legal voting age, and people that also chose not to vote, and elderly people that chose not to vote. So there was probably more than, there was probably about 80 to 100 million people that didn't vote.
Again, if you want to make that argument, you can, but provide evidence, because there's literally no evidence for that. I mean, Trump conducted audits, there were recounts, and there was literally no evidence of that.
There's no way that many people voted when there's millions upon millions of people that can't vote.
That's just a stupid argument saying, oh, there's.
It's not a stupid argument, bro. You have to take into account that the amount of people that voted doesn't add up to the amount of people in the United States that also can't vote.